Yes, sir.
Yes, yeah. Okay. So, good evening once again, and thanks for waiting and sorry for the delay. So, in the previous session by Dr. Chinmay, he had taken a session on MCQs, correct?
Yes, sir.
So,
Yes,
in
sir.
continuation with MCQs, he will also be subsequently taking a session on item analysis. But before that, today we will be having a general session about introduction to assessment methods. Okay, so and of course MCQs is one of the written assessment methods which we have started off. Okay, so do you agree with this statement? Students read not to learn but to pass the exam. They pass the exam but they do not learn.
Many of them.
Many of them, yes. So we need to introspect why such a scenario is arising. And definitely it has something to do with our assessment system. So what we will be doing in today's session is describe the purposes and principles of an effective assessment. We will review the various assessment methods which we are commonly using and try to correlate these assessment methods with the domain of the competency which we want to assess. So again, right from the beginning of this course, we are talking about teaching learning, we discussed about curriculum, and now we have moved on to the assessment module. So this slide tries to re-emphasize that teaching, learning, instruction, curriculum, and assessment are not independent of each other. They are all three sides of a pyramid or a triangle, however you label it. So they are all interdependent parameters. What is taught is from the curriculum. Assessment has to happen of what has been taught, and again, it has to be linked to the curriculum as well. So all these three are interdependent entities. So when we are thinking and talking about assessment, we of course need to keep in mind what the teaching learning has happened and what has been the curriculum. Because finally an assessment is the part of the curriculum itself. So now I want you all to first reflect for a minute on what are the purposes of an assessment. Write down as many as you can think of, and then we'll give you an opportunity to jot them down. So why do we have exams? What are the purposes of an assessment? You can note down the points and then we will have a list. Yes, so can we have your list? One person at a time, and I'll note them down.
Sir,
Provide
assessing students' knowledge.
To know the depth of understanding of the student and how far he is able to integrate that knowledge in the practical scenario.
Okay.
It's a
Providing
means
feedback.
of,
To provide feedback.
Yeah.
sir,
Feedback
it's
to
a
whom?
means,
Feedback to whom?
Students.
Okay.
sir, it helps to improve the performance
Sir,
of
to
students.
gauge the level of competency among peers.
Sir, to check the progress
Okay,
and
one
to
at a time,
assess the
hold on.
knowledge.
So somebody mentioned it helps to provide feedback to the students, and why? So the feedback will help to ultimately improve their performance. Yes, then
We can categorize the students like slow learners, medium learners.
why do we
After
want to
the-
categorize students?
We can give more, you can give more classes to them, improve their performance.
Okay, so
After the
ultimately it
assessment.
helps provide feedback to the teachers as well.
Yes.
I hope you can all see my screen as I'm typing.
Yes. Sir.
Yeah, okay. What next?
Sir,
To
modified
gauge the level of competency between the students, among the students.
Somebody first mentioned modified teaching. So again, it's feedback to the teacher. And what next? What about competence?
Yes, sir. To gauge the level of competency among the students.
So same, to assess the depth of knowledge, understanding, or ultimately competence.
So summative assessment, grading, and certification.
Certifying students in the end, or to maybe promote them to the next class is an important purpose. Yes. What else?
Sir, motivation to the students, sir, to improve their motivation.
Yes, very important to motivate students. Our students, unless we announce exams, they are not motivated to study. So definitely exams are a very strong motivation for the learners. What else?
Assess the effectiveness of teaching.
So again, it's feedback to the teachers. So
Okay.
you want to assess, effectiveness of the teaching learning which you have conducted. Yes, what else?
It's required for accreditation, sir.
Assessment is required for accreditation in what way, ma'am? Can you elaborate a little bit?
Because that is also evaluated, no, sir. How we are doing, what all types of all these things on, but it in a categorized way.
Okay, so if I can rephrase now, or when we are talking about the term assessment, assessment usually refers to student assessment, students' performance, their exams. Whereas when we talk about a program or a course, in that context, we talk about program evaluation. So assessment or accreditation, as you mentioned, it's about the evaluation of a course. So that is program evaluation, which will ultimately contribute to some way in an accreditation process. But that is different from student assessment. Okay, so that's something important. Thanks for bringing this out. That student assessment is different from program evaluation, or in other words, assessment and evaluation are in a very technical way not to be used interchangeably. Although, in our day-to-day system and language, many a times we refer to we use the terms interchangeably. Like even for students' performance, we call it an evaluation, but ideally not. Evaluation is of a program. Assessment is of the students. So that's something to keep in mind.
Sir, can we add screening of students for competitive examination?
Yes, definitely screening And that would be a kind of a offshoot of this identifying the different levels of students.
Sir, also helps in developing a newer curricular matrix.
In what way, sir? How will assessment help in devising new curriculum methods?
Sir, in curriculum, how we are making it, how much theoretical aspects we are giving it to them, how practical aspects we are giving it to them. So those affects how they are performing, how they are understanding, and ultimately they're performing.
Okay, so the again that would fall under the preview of program evaluation again.
Okay.
You know, it's about the feedback of a program, and that program evaluation process will help you in your curricular reforms. But it is probably not directly related to student assessment.
Okay, sir.
I hope you're getting the difference, sir.
Understood, sir.
Yeah. What else? Any other purposes of an exam? Okay, so let's see whether all points are covered or not. So to judge the mastery of essential skills and knowledge, to measure improvement in students' performance over a period of time, to make pass and fail decisions, to rank students, yes, that's a very important purpose. To give them feedback and diagnose their learning difficulties, to evaluate your own teaching methods, and to evaluate the effectiveness of a course, and ultimately to motivate students. So one who controls the assessment controls the program. Okay, so these are all the broad purposes of why we conduct exams. Now, next task for all of you is now, again, reflect for a minute on what are the characteristics of a good or an ideal assessment. Till now, we saw what are the purposes of an assessment. Now, I want you to think about how an ideal assessment should be. So please think of a minute and then we'll take down your points. Okay, can we have your points, please? How should an ideal assessment be?
It has to be objective.
Objective, okay.
It has to be unbiased and should identify both the strength and lacuna.
Objective, unbiased, then
should identify
Systematic.
both the strength and the lacuna.
And what next? What after identifying strength and lacunae?
Systematic.
We should give this feedback
What
to
do
the
we mean
student
by identify? What is the purpose of identifying strength and lacunae?
so that the student will be encouraged for the positive things and will be motivated to improve the whatever the loopholes is there.
Yeah. So yes, we talked about it that the purpose of assessment is to provide them feedback. But how many of us actually do it? So identifying the strengths and lacunae is ultimately providing the feedback to the learner. So that is something which we need to incorporate on a regular basis. Only then the assessment would be more effective. What else?
Should be
Yeah.
method of assessment should be reliable.
Can you just try to elaborate, sir? What do you mean by reliable assessment method?
In the sense, if the method is used in different scenarios, it should give the same results.
Okay, or maybe the scores should be reproducible. So
Reproducible.
if two examiners are scoring the students,
Yeah.
the scores obtained should be similar and there shouldn't be a drastic difference. Only then
Yes.
we can say that the scores obtained by the assessment system has been reliable. Okay. Yes. What next?
Sir,
The
assessment.
assessment. Arun sir, you can continue.
Sir, it should be fair and transparent.
How do we ensure this fairness and transparency? I mean, yes, it should be fair and transparent, but what does this actually transcribe in real practice?
That means it should be even to everyone. It should not be discriminatory, but among the students that we are doing.
So an interesting point. You said even to everyone. So there should be uniformity in assessment for all, without without discrimination. Okay.
Sir, assessment should be based on the domains.
Or in other words, all three domains should
Yes.
assessed. Okay.
The method should be
Yes.
such that cheating is prevented.
Hmm. Ethics.
There should be no malpractice.
Unfair means no scope
By
for
whom?
malpractice.
By whom? Is it just the students?
Both ways, no, sir.
Both ways. Okay. Interesting.
Sir, it should be feasible, sir.
Sorry?
Assessment procedure should be feasible. That means
Yes. Yes. Any assessment should be feasible. Absolutely true.
Be easy to administer.
That is feasibility. Yes.
Able to discriminate level of learning.
Let's call it differentiate rather than discriminate.
Differentiate.
What else?
sir, it should be comprehensive.
What do you mean by comprehensive, sir?
Sir, it include all the aspects of individual, sir, like is the skills that he needs to possess So a person can be labeled as a best student not only on his specific skills. It should be a comprehensive knowledge and the skill that he possesses. Be a
Okay,
practical
so
skill.
is it an extension of the same point that all three domains should be assessed finally?
It can be the same.
Okay. What else? Any other characteristics of an ideal assessment?
Cost effective, sir.
That is again an offshoot of feasibility.
Okay.
Any other dimension of an ideal assessment?
Sir, assessment should have easy, medium, and hard questions. Or it should have, each student should undergo everything.
Sir, it should begin from the basic level till the higher level, the orderly pattern, to know where the students stand.
Okay, and that would also depend on what is the purpose of a test. So if your assessment is more of a formative level assessment and internal assessment where the idea is to give them feedback, then the difficulty level can be low or moderate. But if your purpose of the test is to select students, say for an entrance exam, then the difficulty level should be high. So in broad, a variety of difficulty level should be used, but again, that would also depend on what is the purpose of the test. So final summative level can be more difficult and more application based, but if it is a weekend test or a month end posting and test at a formative level, it can be starting from a simpler level as well. Any other dimensions of an ideal assessment?
Sir, it should be measurable.
What do you mean by measurable, sir?
Sir, if we can quantify that the assessment that we have done, wherein we can ultimately have to put it into numbers or kind of a category, so those assessment can be whatever we wanted to assess from a student.
Okay, so again, yes, objective being measurable or quantifiable, true. And when we say objective, it also means that it should not be subjective.
Yes.
Okay, so and along with reliable, it should be valid. So ever heard about these terms validity and reliability?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that separately. Okay, so thank you everyone. Any other points left out if anyone wants to share? Okay, so let's just see whether everything is covered. So an ideal or an effective assessment, there should be a representative sampling of performance. A variety of assessment methods should be used. Yes, this point was left out. So we should not just be dependent on any one kind of a method or tool, but we should try to incorporate multiple methods of assessment in any kind of exam. There should be uniformity in tests and procedures for all. There should be explicit specific criteria in judging and grading successful performance. Any assessment should be feasible to conduct and it should provide timely feedback to the learners. So finally, an ideal assessment must be objective or measurable. It should be fair, meaningful, defensible in any court of law, and ultimately feasible to conduct. And it is said quality cannot be measured until it is improved. So if we want to improve the quality of our assessment, we should first be in a position to quantify it. Okay, so now we are all familiar with the different methods of assessment which we are commonly using. So can we have a list? What all methods of assessment are we familiar with? Which all assessment tools are you using in your exam, in your college, in your exams?
Sir, written exam, practical exams.
Okay. Written exam, practical exam. What does the written exam consist of?
It can be a short
Short
question, long question, MCQs.
SAQs, LAQs, MCQs. What else?
Viva was.
Vivas, yes. Any other methods?
OSCE.
OSCEs and OSPEs. Are you all using OSCEs and OSPEs in your system?
No.
In formative sometimes, in summative it is not there.
Okay, so let's just have a recap. You mentioned SAQs, LAQs, MCQs. These are all written assessment methods. And so these are basically meant for assessment of the which domain?
Cognitive.
Cognitive, yes. So a lot of methods, 3 methods now for the cognitive domain. Any other methods which we use for the cognitive domain? You mentioned Vivas. Somebody mentioned Vivas. So
Yes.
Vivas are again for cognitive domain. Okay, so many methods, plenty of methods for cognitive domain, which is knowledge. What about the skills domain? What all methods do we have for assessing skills, which we are commonly using?
Practical examination.
Practical exams, yes. Any other methods or any other nomenclature? Clinical exams, yes. Practicals, clinicals. And then somebody mentioned OSCEs and OSPEs. Okay. So beyond these, any other methods? How about the affective domain?
Communication assessment.
Yes. So where is that assessed?
It is virtually nil in the formal system.
Sir, sorry, I did not get that.
In the current system, it is virtually nil. Affective domain is not at all assessed as of now.
Not at all assessed. Okay. Somebody else? What Madam mentioned about communication skills. Sandhya ma'am.
Yes, sir. During case history clinical examinations, students talk to the patients. Passively, we can see what they are doing and assess that, sir.
Okay, so a clinical exam provides an opportunity for assessing them firsthand on their communication skills. Okay, but does that always happen?
No.
Okay,
No.
we'll come to that. Okay, fine. Yes. So I think a lot of and any other special method when it comes to dentistry, especially any other method of assessment which you are commonly using, either summative or formative.
Preclinical, sir. Before.
But in your preclinicals, it will be these same methods which are used ultimately.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
But they are doing it in the domicile.
The presentation of seminars and other things can also be taken as assessments, sir.
Is a seminar presentation considered for scoring and grading? Is it a part of the exam?
Sir, what
Like
about
micro-
practical?
So that would be an affective domain, no? So seminar and all.
सेमिनार में हम क्या चेक करते हैं, क्या असेस करते हैं? उनका नॉलेज असेस करते हैं या
How
कम्युनिकेशन
they
स्किल्स
are
असेस
able
करते
to
हैं?
present it.
is
Presentation.
Sir, actually in the university marking scoring system, there is 5 marks for their case history and 5 marks for their seminars. So it is part of their assessment. That seminar presentation, whether it could be a written document which they are presenting or they may be presenting, but there is a 5 marks given for that.
Okay.
So that means it is
if
taken.
if there is a
Okay.
blueprint, if there is a scoring system created where seminars are to be given marks, then it's important to then reflect on that in a seminar or for a seminar, what are we supposed to be actually assessing students on? Is it supposed to be for their content, which is the knowledge or the cognitive domain? Or is it supposed to be about their way of presentation and their communication, which is the affective domain, or something else?
Sir, we
Okay,
have
so
a feedback form on each of the seminars presented, starting
Mhm.
from his knowledge accumulation, presentation, how he answers the questions, and how we able to replicate if he tomorrow he becomes a teacher, how we can same thing transmit the knowledge to the fellow subjects. So those all these things are being made as a feedback in our each seminars. Those have been done by the faculty and provided to him for as a feedback so that he can improve upon.
Correct, sir. So as you mentioned, this is meant for feedback. It is meant for the students to improve in the next presentation or the next performance.
So
Okay,
that's
so
also
these seminars are ultimately a part of the teaching learning phase and the teaching learning process. But are the scores obtained in a seminar used for as an examination is something to reflect upon. So
not
are we
directly,
using
sir.
the seminar scores to pass them? Or
Micro teachings are being conducted in some university to during the exams. So micro teaching in a way is like a presentation itself. So they would be like training them for the assessment.
yes, so in some systems, some universities in the examination system, micro teachings are, there are dedicated marks for micro teaching as a part of practical exam. But again, the emphasis is on the teaching component then and not directly on the clinical skills. Okay, so yes, these are the common methods which we are using. Now, what we will do is we will kind of break down into two different groups. Okay. And in your breakout rooms, I want you to discuss the advantages and challenges of these different assessment methods. So the first group will take up the written assessment methods, which is SAQs, LAQs, and MCQs. Okay. Group 2 will take up performance assessment, which is clinicals, practicals, and you can also take up vivas. Is that clear?
So we have
Okay,
we have to put the points of advantage and disadvantage.
yes, advantage and disadvantage of MCQs, SAQs, and LAQs. You can write them out, discuss them out separately. MCQs, what are its advantages and challenges? SAQs, what are its advantages and challenges? LAQs, what are its advantages and challenges? This is for group 1. And group 2 will discuss advantages and challenges of clinical exams, advantages and challenges of practical exams, and advantages and challenges of vivas. Okay, so you can take 15 minutes for this activity and then we will come back and have a debriefing on this. Is the task clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. So we'll break out into 2 rooms. Samek, Samek,
Yes, sir.
બે રૂમ બનાવો ને બે breakout room 15 મિનિટ ની
15 મિનિટમાં ઓકે
two rooms randomly allot કરો
બનાવી નાખ્યા જતા
હા
રહ્યા બધા
ગયા ને બધા હા
હા.
સરસ 15 મિનિટ નો રાખ્યો છે ને ટાઈમ
હા 15 મિનિટનો ટાઈમ રાખ્યો છે
હા
મેં ગ્રુપ બનાવી જ રાખ્યું હતું એક
હા
થી
હા
5
સરસ
નું એક
સરસ
ગ્રુપ ને બીજું ગ્રુપ
yes yes સમેક
હા સર
કેટલા અટેન્ડન્સ કેટલી છે આજની જરાક નાખી દેજો ને ગ્રુપ પર.
8 જણા છે 8.
8 જણા કોણ બે નથી ખાલી મને પર્સનલ મેસેજ નાખી દો ને.
ઓકે ઓકે હાજી. સર
હા
રોલ નંબર 1 આનંદ કુમાર પાટીલ અને રોલ નંબર 6 મીનાક્ષી.
હા બસ તે મેસેજ નાખી દેજો ને એક મને ખાલી.
ઓકે ઓકે.
Okay, so is everyone back?
Sir, we are back in the room.
Yeah, everyone is back. Okay, great. Yeah, so let's start with the first group, MCQs. What are the advantages? Can you all see the screen?
Sir, as
Yes,
the
sir.
name itself says, it is more objective.
Okay, MCQs are objective. What else?
Sir, we can cover larger topics.
Large sampling, a larger area of the curriculum can be covered.
Only
What
a
else?
person having in-depth knowledge can answer the question.
And can you, what do you mean by in-depth knowledge?
I've read in detail.
Are our MCQs framed that way? Most of our MCQs are simple recall types. So can MCQs really assess in-depth knowledge?
It can be from anywhere, from any chapter from the book.
Yeah, so that is what we mean when we say a larger sampling can be covered or a vast curriculum can be covered. But for a specific topic, is it possible to assess any specific topic in depth?
No, sir.
Yeah, so that in-depth knowledge assessment is actually not possible
That would be a
using
challenge.
MCQs.
That's a disadvantage, challenge.
Okay, coming back to advantages, what are the advantages?
The ease of assessment.
Assessment is easy, but what about framing the questions?
That's difficult.
Yeah. What else?
Sir, individual biases can be removed here.
Yes, no bias because it is highly objective.
You can differentiate level of the students.
It's possible to differentiate between different learners. Okay.
So it's a quickest means of assessment.
Easy and quick to assess. What else?
Sir, it has got a lesser anxiety compared to LAQs.
Less anxiety for students.
Yes, sir.
Why? Why would MCQs have less anxiety?
Sir, the lower level of cognitive ability test is there because you need not to comprehend the larger answers. So you require a shorter period to assess and analyze the question and can reproduce.
Okay, so no comprehensive answering leading to lesser anxiety. Fine.
Sir, I beg to disagree.
Okay.
Because MCQs students are for this entrance exams and all, they are really tensed. So,
Ma'am, are they are tense? Are they tense because of the exam or because of the MCQ per se?
that way,
They're anxious about the result.
yes.
But MCQs as a tool, what sir was trying to say is that whatever is the anxiety, it is because of the exam and not because of the tool. Maybe their anxiety would be more if they are supposed to give a viva, or
Yes.
their anxiety might be more if they are supposed to give an exam which is a written, theoretical based LAQ based exam. So that is what the reference was over here, that MCQs probably are less anxiety generating, because even if the students are not aware of the answers, there is still a 25% probability that their answer will be correct.
Okay, sir.
And so therefore that is a challenge over here, that students can involve in guesswork.
Guesswork.
So let's come to the challenges. What are the other challenges for MCQs?
So it has got a potential of guessing, sir.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you mentioned over here. Guesswork is possible. Can that be avoided? Or can this
Negative
challenge be taken care of?
Get negative marking, sir.
Yes, apply negative marking. Students will think 4 times before doing any guesswork. What else?
Limited assessment of higher order, that is higher order cognitive skills.
So higher order thinking skills are not assessed. That's what we said, in-depth assessment is not possible.
Yes, sir.
Is it not possible, or is it possible but we don't do it?
Sir,
Sir, it
it
is
depends upon the question, no? So if we frame the question in that way, then it can be assessed.
Sir, if it is for class internal exam, then we put easy question. If it is for entrance examination, we put little bit tough question.
So these are all in comparison, sir. In comparison to LAQs, it's like the question is also gives you some kind of a clues as well. In LAQs, we don't have any clues. We have to reproduce everything together.
Okay, so the way it all depends on the way the question is framed, which would decide whether the higher order thinking skills are assessed or not. So with MCQs, if the MCQs are problem based, scenario based questions, then it is definitely possible to assess them at a higher level, maybe up to level 4 in the cognitive domain. Up to the synthesis level, it is possible to assess students using multiple choice questions. But currently, the way MCQs are used in our assessment system, most of the questions are purely assessment of factual points, which is recall based. So that makes the use of MCQs very limited, and therefore that becomes a challenge. So when it comes to saying in-depth assessment, it's not that it's not possible, it is possible, but we actually don't do it that way. It is possible to assess skills, but it all depends on how the questions are framed. And therefore, training of examiners is required, which is a challenge. So training in terms of framing higher order questions is a challenge when it comes to multiple choice questions. Any other points for MCQs?
Sir, we cannot assess the ability of expression, sir.
Sorry?
We do not comprehend the expression of the knowledge. It's our one word expression, two word
Okay, so the entire, that's what he said, in-depth assessment of knowledge also is not possible. And that too, it is still only an assessment only of the cognitive domain. Whereas the other domains also, it is not possible to assess using MCQs. We cannot assess skills using MCQs. We cannot assess the affective domain using MCQs. Okay, let's move on to the next assessment tool, SAQs. Can we have the advantages of SAQs, please?
So it will allow assessment of specific knowledge.
What do you mean by specific knowledge, sir?
The questions are very well directed, like what are the advantages and disadvantages of XYZ. So you are giving specific thing instead of telling about what is it, explain.
Yes. What else?
It's more objective, sir.
Are SAQs objective?
Short answer questions. So short answer questions of marks is more objective because you are looking for specific sentences or words in them rather than you're looking for the content in that.
Compared to LAQs, they are more objective, but still subjective with reference to MCQs.
Sir, they are one of the quicker forms comparatively to LAQs.
What else?
Sir, preparation is easy.
And it's precise.
Precise responses are expected and given by the students. So what makes these 2 points possible? Easy to prepare and precise responses.
Reduces the stress among even the assessee, sir. Because he has to answer specifically, it reduces stress or anxiety.
What do others feel about this? Does everyone agree?
Less time consuming, probably.
Sir, it is a high scoring, sir.
Yes.
What makes them scoring?
Because it is either 1 mark or 2 marks. If the answer is right, you get full marks for that.
Yes, so if the responses are precise, then they will be scoring.
Yeah.
And the responses will be precise only if the question is, framed properly. But if the question, many a times, okay, we'll talk about the challenges and then come back to this. So what else? What other points?
So that reduced stress, it depends again on the question, sir. If the question is difficult, then the students will be, I lost 3 marks. But they can also think that I only lost 3 marks. It's not an essay. So I am safe. So it is both ways, sir.
So any kind of exam is ultimately bound to give some kind of anxiety to the learners and the students.
Yes, sir.
So the idea of these tools is not to reduce stress or to increase stress, but we have to see how effectively we can use these tools to reduce the stress. So when it comes to SAQs, it also depends on how much the knowledge the learners have. If the students have read and they are aware or have knowledge about the topic, they'll be able to respond to it. And the stress levels will be less. But if the students have not prepared for the topic and something comes and they are not able to respond to it, it will increase the stress. So is it the tool ultimately which is to be blamed when it comes to stress? Maybe not completely, maybe not fully.
So
There
stressing,
will be
right?
other confounders over here when it comes to stress.
Sir, you have to write down pages for LAQs. For SAQs, you can comprehend to limit to a paragraph. So that also reduces stress of expressing the same.
Yeah, so again, precise responses expected, which will help in the scoring pattern.
Yes.
More
What
topics can be
else?
covered.
Larger sampling, again, compared to LAQs. But when it comes to MCQs,
MCQs it
is
is.
still less. Any other points and advantages, or now shall we move to challenges? Any challenges with SAQs?
Sir, assessment of knowledge, limited depth of the knowledge, same like the MCQ.
So some depth can be assessed, but it is still limited. Yes. So again, this would also depend on how the question is framed.
Sir.
What else?
So there can be a time management issue by the student if it's not proper, it's not restricted.
So time management issues can be there. Is it a flaw of the tool per se?
Sir, it could be a flaw of the paper setter if he is not precise.
And it can be from the student side as well, sir, because he don't know where to stop.
Yes, sir. If they ask long essays in SAQs, then it's difficult to concise the
So
subject.
even over here, faculty training is required to help them frame structured questions. Many a times in papers we have seen that even in SAQs the questions are very open and unambiguous, that students can write anything and everything under the sun. So framing structured questions is a challenge for which faculty training is required. What else? Any other challenges?
Sir, assessing the complex knowledges or expression of ideas can't be done, sir.
Yes, so for that we have LAQs. Before we move on to LAQs, any more points for SAQs?
Sir, there is no negative marking, so chances of guessing.
But students can students really guess something for SAQs?
Like you can put, as I was telling, advantages and disadvantages. You can just correlate the other answers and can put it there. You need not to explain in depth. So
Yes, so again, it boils down to the fact of how questions have been structured and framed.
correct.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on to the next assessment tool, which is LAQs. Can we have the advantages, please?
Sir, critical thinking can be evaluated.
Okay.
Deeper understanding of the topic can be assessed.
Fine. What else?
Sir, can assess the higher order of cognitive skills.
So all these 3 points are essentially the same, critical thinking, deeper understanding, higher order cognition. Ultimately, these are all the same points.
So that's how we answer LAQ, sir.
Yes. So yeah. So any thoughts flowing out of this?
It allows a descriptive process.
So is this something which needs to be assessed? Allowing the students a descriptive process or free expression of ideas. Is this an intended outcome of the curriculum?
Because most of the questions are usually describe something or describe the process or describe the procedure.
So if it is describe the process or describing a procedure, what should the emphasis be on it? Should it be about the process and the procedure, or should it be about the ability of the student to freely express his ideas and describe the process? What are we actually wanting to assess? Is it the content or the expression of ideas?
It's the expression of
Or both?
ideas.
Or both?
Both, sir.
Content, sir, mostly.
And definitely it needs more number of words, so it has to be LAQ only.
Okay, so content, yes, but the free expression of ideas, yes, that is something which happens when it comes to LAQs, but is it anywhere mentioned in the curriculum that this is what the students have to learn and this is what we are supposed to assess them on? Free expression of ideas or critical thinking, for example. So the point is this is a gray area which we need to kind of be alert on and aware of when we are kind of doing the assessment, that finally what are we doing when it comes to assessment of LAQs. Some students might be freely expressing their ideas which are of no relevance to the context and the topic, and on the other hand some students would have clearly written crisp and precise points about the content which is asked for, which might not flow into pages altogether, but then the entire content which is expected is written on that topic.
Sir,
So
now
We go with the content, sir, maximum time.
maximum time, that's a hidden
sir,
rider over there.
these word limits are usually prescribed, but it is very less often that somebody sticks to that. Even the assessor will not be able to assess the word limit.
Yes, so I think these are. So do we see any challenges over here?
Time management issues.
Okay. Time management for whom?
Uh,
Student to write, sir, and the assessor to evaluate.
Yes, student as well as assessor. It is a time consuming process.
Sir, it is more subjective.
Highly subjective. What else?
high chances of going out of context. Going out of context. There is a chances that.
Can this be taken care of?
If they write the contents, then this can be taken care of. They can limit their amount of exposure to the subject.
So proper framing again of
Yes.
questions will help avoid this challenge.
So
What
limited
else?
coverage of topics, sir.
Yes, limited sampling. No, in a specific particular paper, we might just have 1 or 2 LAQs from the entire curriculum. Then we expect the students, we certify the students to be competent graduates based on just 1 or 2 LAQs from the entire paper.
Sir, it could be erratic scoring.
What would make the scoring erratic?
Because it takes a lot of effort on the part of the assessor to read everything and then objectively score it.
तो efforts लग रहे हैं लो ना, what's दिक्कत क्या है?
But effort नहीं लेते sir.
No, I mean in the sense we need to discuss this a little more. It is a time consuming process, we have said that, but then how would that lead to an erratic scoring?
Sir, it's a personal experience. Like if you have to score say 100 copies of a BDS any subject, and it will run into say for example 40 pages. When you keep finding similar answers, sometimes you have a tendency to mark it similarly if the answers are following a particular pattern. So then the examiner tends to not read the entire thing, but just go on the overall flow of the answer and then just allot marks.
Okay. That's one reason. Any other reasons?
Sir, handwriting also sometimes can have an effect on scoring, because when a lot of things are written, handwriting also can play a part.
Yes. What else?
So stress level is more if a person fails to attempt the question.
Fatigue is more, sir.
Fatigue and stress for the students and examiners. So all these issues will lead to ultimately a lot of bias when it comes to LAQs.
Inequality.
Time issues, not being able to read all responses, handwriting issues, stress for the examiner as well as students. All these are sources of bias when it comes to LAQs.
Sir, now the assessment, written assessment is through the university is scanning the things and putting it in online mode. So that is also one thing. You have to be familiar with the internet, computer.
Is that something to do with the LAQ?
Assessment, the evaluator. Something to do with
Evaluator.
the evaluator. First
So
level of the evaluator.
Readings become difficult of a longer answer, sir. If it is a shorter answer to read on a computer screen or a printout, it will be easy.
Because so that same thing, na, it is difficult. It causes stress. It causes vision issues, vision and fatigue for the examiner.
But online gives flexibility of scheduling your time, because it doesn't have to be. It can be remote. Many universities are now offering remote evaluation. You can sit in your house and access the manuscripts.
I think so. Most
I
of the
agree.
universities who have gone online, are they allowing for remote access of university exam papers?
Yeah. Some private universities have started.
Hmm.
They will give you a login ID and password, and I think they'll give some time limit also.
Yes, so that flexibility of not going to the exam center is there, but finally one has to still sit in front of the screen and read through all the responses, through all those good or bad handwritings, and complete the task.
Sir, another
fatigue
problem
can be
is
reduced, because you can choose to do only 10 manuscripts per day and finish it over a period of 5 or 6 days.
Okay, so some bit of flexibility is then provided through the use of online technologies.
Yeah.
Okay.
sir, that flexibility is there, but there is another thing, sir. For a particular paper, you are supposed to stay in that thing for a particular time. You are not supposed to finish the evaluation before time. So that is also a stress factor.
Okay.
Because you are seeing how much time you are devoting to a particular answer script. So ultimately, when the marks comes, your time also is there. How much mark you have given, how much time you have.
Madam, this is an advanced feature, I suppose.
Yes, it is
Yeah,
there.
so
To
the
prevent,
examiner is at risk now.
Yes,
चाहे
the
student
examiner
ने
is
कुछ भी
at
लिखा
risk.
हो, it is the onus of the examiner to ensure that he spends good amount
Enough
of time
time.
reading the paper.
Yes.
Otherwise,
Another
the
thing,
system can catch him. or
yes,
her,
another
examiner.
thing is double evaluation, sir. One particular paper is being evaluated by another evaluator also. So what mark I am giving should be similar to the mark which the other person is giving. If it is not there, it is going for third evaluation. Everything is digital, sir. So then and there, the university knows. And if we are not evaluating properly and if we have more problems, then we will be taken out.
blacklisted.
Yes. So that is also another problem.
10 to 15% variations are accepted, no?
It is there, sir, but we are at stress. We have to be, whatever we are doing, we have to be 100% sure, sir.
Yeah.
You are not allowed to make any mistakes.
So
Even
objectivity
the
is not there.
evaluators are under stress.
We are at stress.
So,
Madam, Kerala, it was strict, madam.
Yes, sir. Our university is
that's the
strict.
thing, sir. All universities are strict. That strictness, which was earlier meant for students, is now becoming strictness for the examiners. I think that is what madam is trying to say.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So yes, a lot of challenges when it comes to LAQs, and the biggest challenge being that there is lack of uniformity of assessment,
Of assessment.
and therefore issues related to validity. Student, I mean, what question has been asked and what the student has responded, there is a huge variation many a times. And because the examiners may or may not read the paper thoroughly, whether the scores obtained by the students are a true reflection of their knowledge is always going to be questionable when it comes to LAQs. Okay, so thank you, group 1, and let's now quickly move on to group 2. Achha, so one more thing before we move ahead. So these SAQs and LAQs, they are also called as, free response type questions. And the students are free to respond in any way compared to MCQs in which the students has to just select the responses in front of them. So next week's session is going to be specifically based on these next two sessions. In fact, we'll be having on SAQs and LAQs and discussing more dimensions of these and seeing how to make or how to take care of the challenges which are existing with these methods of LAQs and SAQs. Okay. And MCQs, SAQs, LAQs are all for the cognitive domain. Even Vivas again for the cognitive domain. So let's go ahead with Vivas. Before that, somebody was saying something.
Sir, can you kindly flash that SAQ slide, sir? Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Vivas, advantages quickly.
Sir, it is easy to conduct.
Okay, easy. कभी भी कहीं पे भी ले लो. Okay. No preparation. Is that what you're trying to say? What do you mean by easy?
Easy in the sense, sir, we can, from our cognitive domain, we can ask questions, sir. We don't have to sit and prepare.
Yeah, so no prior preparation. I think that is what you were trying to say.
Yes, sir.
Interesting. What else?
Broad range of topics can be covered, sir. And we can go in depth, assess in depth knowledge. We can select one topic and ask questions on that topic itself.
Okay.
And we can assess the confidence of students.
Okay. We'll come
This
back to
much
this
we
point.
got, sir. This much we got as the advantage.
Okay.
So now it is open for
Challenges.
challenges. It's a subjective. It could be biased. Quality of questions. Time consuming. Examiner fatigue. Language barrier for the students.
That's it.
Sir, there is
Yes, sir.
no documentation of
Yes, yes.
which can lead to grievances.
No.
Documentation. Because I remember some universities started video recording of Viva because there are a lot of complaints.
Yes. True.
Revaluation is not possible.
Sir, among advantages, it is an immediate assessment or a faster assessment.
Okay.
ఈ రోజు ఇక్కడ 44
Sir,
ఉంది
economic.
In the economic.
Economical or not economical? Advantage or challenges?
Economical. It's an advantage.
Advantages.
ఒక రిఫ్లెక్టివ్ సర్ఫేస్ కొనాలి అని అనిపిస్తుంది.
So can you just be a
ఉండదు
little
కదా,
loud?
shade
I'm not
ఉండదు.
able to hear you clearly.
అసలు ఆ వేడిలో 1 o'clock కి బయటికి వెళ్ళాలి అంటే
Cross communication, sir.
పొద్దున సెమినార్ కి కూర్చోబెట్టారు.
Background noise.
Siddhartha, sir.
ఆగితే ఉన్నాడు.
Siddhartha, sir, could you mute your mic?
We weren't sure whether you're talking to us or Yeah, okay. Any more points? Because I want to discuss this point over here, confidence. Does everyone agree with this point? We assess the students on their confidence.
Yes, sir, it's in agreement, sir.
Good. So in which syllabus के कौन से section में है कि confidence?
Yeah,
अच्छा,
confidence is
how have
not
we taught? Have we taught students confidence first, that we are sitting to assess it first of all? On one hand, we are
It needs-
saying assessment should be from the curriculum. Isn't this out of syllabus? Confidence assessment.
out of syllabus.
Rarely teach them how to be confident.
They might recollect and write the exam, but some students, they won't be able to give answers in vivas.
Some sort of ice breaking is required, sir.
वाइवा में वाइवा लेंगे या आइस ब्रेकिंग करेंगे?
Sensor ki it depends on the examiner whether he can make the student comfortable. A shy student may need a little bit of more. Somebody who
But
has
we will
got
not be able to assess no, sir, shy students and within a short period of time.
No. I think we are losing the context. What are we supposed to assess when it comes to viva? Are we supposed to assess them on their knowledge or on their confidence or shyness?
Sir, answer.
these things could be a barrier in assessment.
It affects when they give the answers.
They may know the answer, but because of language barrier or some issues, they were not able to express themselves.
Yeah. So again, that brings in bias. That's one of the factors leading to bias when it comes to vivas. Okay. Again, some students might actually not have the knowledge about the topic which is asked in the viva, but they will be so confident in answering that we will actually be surprised with their confidence. कितना confidently answer करते हैं. Answer कुछ नहीं किया, but confidence was on the 7th peak. So does that deserve the marks and the credit for confidence?
No.
That leads to bias, sir.
Sir, we can also add bias in fairness, sir. Fairness of evaluation.
What would decide? I mean, we as examiners would feel that we are being fair. But thinking from the student's perspective, there might always be concerns when it comes to the examination and the final scoring, because there is no documentation. So whether the examiner was fair or not, there is no way to kind of prove whether the examination was
Feedback,
fairly
sir.
done.
Feedback of the exam.
So how about feedback?
Immediate feedback.
Immediate feedback is possible. It is possible to give it. That's an advantage.
Sir, immediate assessment and immediate feedback.
Yes.
We have already written immediate assessment, sir.
Immediate assessment and feedback possible. True. Another area where vivas can be useful is for the borderline students. Okay, so that's a student who has got say 49 marks. Does he really deserve to fail? Or the student who has got 51 marks, does that student really deserve to pass? Okay, so that is one area for the borderline students where Vivas can help us as examiners take that decision. And the second area where Vivas can be useful is for your top ranked students. So suppose you might have 5 or 6 students who have got more than 90% or 95% marks. Who deserves to get the first rank? Who should be second? So to rank your topmost students, again, a Viva can be useful. Otherwise, for the entire middle lot, there are a lot of challenges which are existing in the system. And ultimately, what are we assessing? We are still assessing only cognitive domain again. You might argue that yes, confidence is assessed, which is somewhere related to the affective domain, but then still the way we are using it is still meant for cognitive, and we have loads of methods which we are already using for the cognitive domain. Okay, so just using Viva for the heck of it is no special advantage or not the best way or the best use of resources which we have.
Sir, on the other hand, this Viva can be easily abused to, give more marks to somebody who doesn't deserve.
So that's what I said, loads of biases, lot of opportunities for bias, which is possible using Vivas, but yet it is still possible to overcome all these challenges. We will be having a special session exclusively on Vivas and see how we can structure the Vivas and help take care of all these challenges which are there. Okay, so we'll hold on for here with respect to Vivas. Quickly, we'll cover the last 2 points, practical and clinical exams. There will be a lot of similar points, so let's just take up the practical exam first here.
Sir, advantage, it's
Yes.
easily administered
Easy.
compared to the clinical.
Okay.
Economical, it's a tool for formative assessment, sir. It can be used as a tool for formative assessment.
In fact, all the assessment methods can be used for formative or for summative. What else?
So this was in comparison to clinical exam, where
Yes.
clinical exam for formative can be challenging because of lack of pressure for a large number of students.
So that's not a flaw of the exam.
Okay.
We'll come to that, but then is the exam to blame for that? No. In fact, why not have formative exams for clinicals? Don't you think your students will benefit out of having formative exams for clinicals as well?
Definitely, sir.
Yeah. So let's. Those are implementation issues. Those are administrative issues which are there. Those are not real challenges with the tool. So let's focus on the tool right now, which we are talking about, which is the practical exam.
So this much we have written.
Okay. Challenges?
There is no real life exposure. It's a practical scenario compared to the clinical. Lack of objectivity.
Why do you feel so?
Sir, evaluation, there should be well-defined criteria. If the criteria are not there.
Okay, so the task is objective. Like, for example, taking the blood pressure of a student. It's a highly objective outcome which is expected from the student. What you are saying is not objective is the scoring system. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So can that be taken care of?
Yeah, it can be taken care of.
Okay, fine. What else? What are the other challenges?
So a lot of resources required.
Agreed. In fact, this is the primary challenge, biggest challenge. Lot of resources and planning required for conducting any kind of a practical exam.
Sir, need to
Limitation
standardize
in
the
number of
examination pattern.
students examined.
Come again, please.
Limitation in number of students being examined in a day.
Okay.
Sir, need to standardize the pattern of examination.
Can you elaborate a little bit, sir? What do you mean by standardization?
Sir, we need to standardize the pattern of conducting the exam. Like a practical exam should have in our specialty, like we should have specific examination thing, making processes for specific procedure has to be set so that it can be standardized for everyone.
So is it not currently set? I mean,
no, it
don't
is
you
set.
have standardized procedures to assess?
So that is a requirement of this assessment tool, sir. Whereas in the other assessment tool, there is generally this kind of standardization is not required.
So,
like you have to specify this, like these things has to be done, then only we can conduct an exam. Whereas in the other form of assessment like LAQs, SAQs, or in the other forms of assessment like Viva-Os, you need not to do that standardization.
So isn't this an advantage that in a practical exam, you have a standardized assessment?
Possibly.
Rather than saying that standardization is possible, I mean required, doesn't it make it an advantage that yes, practicals, whatever practical is conducted, it will be standardized?
Yes.
Yes, sir. You can take it that way as well. If we don't standardize, then this is a disadvantage, sir. Then there is no relevance for this examination pattern.
Yes, so I think when we are having these discussions, we keep in mind that we are trying to do it in the most ideal way. Otherwise, this standardization aspect will apply to any kind of tool. Your MCQ, that quality assurance when it comes to assessment would apply to any kind of assessment tool. Let it be your written assessment in the form of MCQs, SAQs, LAQs, your Vivas, which we discussed, your practicals, clinicals, that quality assurance in terms of organization, the exam has to be ensured.
Sir, one more advantages of this practical or clinical exam is it's an holistic evaluation, sir, wherein you are assessing the affective domain as well as cognitive. You are asking the Vivas also. You are eliciting the response like a chair-side Viva, or the questions are also being asked.
Okay, so if we are using it, assessing it as and using all three domains, fine. But in practicals, is this more relevant for practicals or for clinicals? That holistic examination aspect.
So that point we have written for the clinical assessment, sir.
Yeah,
Advantage.
so let's shift it to the clinicals, that it should be more holistic. Practical would be very specific. Practicals we are referring to under the formative stages, first year, second year, where the students are performing small tasks, and assessment or developing the competence in these tasks will ultimately help them perform better when it comes to a clinical performance. So we can consider a practical exam to be a kind of a precursor for the larger clinicals which are to come.
So used for preclinical assessment.
Fine. Yes. Any other points for practical? Okay, let's move on to clinical then. So clinical exam, yes, holistic, all three domains can be assessed.
Yes, sir.
Whether we assess it or not is a different story.
Sir, assessment is in real time, in patient.
Okay.
So the disadvantage is the availability of patients, sir. Sir, each patient is different, so uniformity you will not get for all students. Situations are different. It's time consuming, fatigue factor. So we have to strictly lay down the criteria for assessment, sir. Otherwise, lack of objectivity. Assessment criteria. Again, similar to the practical, we have it here also, sir.
But isn't this something which should be there? Rather than calling it as a disadvantage, this should be an assumption that any kind of assessment should have a fixed criteria.
Yes, sir.
So not having the criteria is not a flaw of the tool.
Okay, sir.
Any kind of assessment, we should be clear about what and how we are going to assess it. Let's not blame the tool for it.
It's
What else?
non-economical, sir.
Again, time limitation for like practicals. We cannot examine many students in a given day.
So yes, time consuming.
Resource
Again,
intensive, sir.
Resource economical, it's non-economical.
Sir, even availability of examiners.
So patients availability and their cooperation as well. It's
Definitely
resource intensive.
stressful to the student because nowadays the colleges expect students to get the patients.
Sir, in the advantages, skill evaluation is possible, sir. That is okay. All skill.
What evaluation, sir, is possible?
No, sir. It is a part of our all three domains. I was just mentioning skill separately.
Yeah, okay. All three domains are ideally, but yes, primarily skills.
Primarily skills.
And this applies to both practical as well as clinical. Any other points? Okay, so I think thank you everyone for getting involved in kind of identifying the challenges and advantages of all these methods. So we'll just summarize and close with this, that this is the Miller's pyramid. It is the pyramid of assessment of clinical competencies given by George Miller. So at the base of the pyramid is the knowledge, knows and the knows how. And for assessment of knows and knows how, we have all the written, oral and computer-based assessment methods. And above that comes the shows how and the does. And for shows how and the does, we have the performance or hands-on methods. So for the knows and knows how, we have MCQs, SAQs, LAQs, essay type questions, oral examination, vivas, and they are ultimately assessment of all knowledge. Performance assessment, common methods which we are currently using, we discussed that: long case, short case. We can have skill stations, we can have OSCEs. We will have a separate session on OSCE altogether. But we also have certain newer methods of performance assessment, which are again real time. So those are clinical evaluation exercise, mini clinical evaluation exercise, portfolios, DOPS, which is direct observation of procedural skills, 360-degree evaluation methods. So all of these methods are called as workplace-based evaluation methods, which are at the DOS level. So other than OSCE would be assessment as the shows how level in a simulated environment. But the rest, all of the other methods, right from CEX to 360-degree evaluation are at the DOS level. Okay, so in the subsequent sessions now, we will be discussing about all these assessment methods in much more detail and see how to take care of these challenges which have been identified. We also have a little bit of discussion to do about validity and reliability of assessment, but that we will take at some other time with a more fresher mind and try to understand these concepts of what exactly is reliability and what exactly we mean by validity when it comes to assessment. So any further questions, any reflections on today's discussions which we have had? Anyone?
Sir, request, sir, in case if we get to know the topic a couple of days in advance, we have a slight amount of, at least preparing ourselves.
Yeah,
to
okay. So on the group, I'll just immediately put up a tentative schedule of the topics which are lined up. So as I mentioned, the next two sessions will be on SAQs and LAQs, the free response type questions. They will be taken by Dr. Medha Joshi. And yeah, I'll put up the schedule. I'll put that right now.
Thank you, sir.
Any closing comments?
Good class, sir. We had a good participation. Not only an instructor who's teaching us, even the subjects are also active.
Yeah, I think so. This is one more dimension which you all need to take back to your classrooms about. It's not just about teaching, but it's about facilitating learning amongst the learners also, which is again based on the foundations of adult learning. So try to adopt this process along the way as we move and progress through this course. So that's one more intended outcome expected at the end of the program. So with this, there are no further questions. We will end today's session. Thank you everyone for joining and
Thank you, sir.
looking forward to seeing you all next time.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Good night, everyone. Good night.
night.
Thank you. समीक बंद करी दो.